You know, this is the Bees of Boxing. No, I'm not Steve Swift. He is. He is one of many beloved humans in the entire planet. I can tell you that. Probably one of the most beloved humans in the planet, regardless of what you see him sticking up his nose right now, which is probably how he got that nose in the first place. But that's a different story for a different day. I'll tell you right now who is not a beloved human on the planet. Referee Mark Leeson today by a lot of people. But I got your back, Mark, and we're going to talk about that this week on the Bees of Boxing. First and foremost, let me introduce you to the man of the hour. Too sweet to be sour. No, I'm not talking about Larry Sweeney, God rest his soul. I'm talking about Steve Swift. Steve, how are you doing today? How's life on the other side of the pond, as they say? Are the Brits okay? Are we dealing with all of this okay this morning?
The Brits are not okay. We're a bit cheesed off by it, but it's sunny out there. This is the sunniest it's been all year. Mm-hmm. So I'll be complaining tomorrow because it's even sunnier. 31 degrees tomorrow. So that's too sunny for someone like me with my delicate complexion and skin tone. I mean, when you get to my age, you have to be careful, wear a hat and put some kind of very expensive skin cream on, which I am going to be getting later today.
Really? What kind of skin cream is that? Did it come straight from the whale? Do you have to get it yourself? Do you is it a hand pump system? You go down to the shores?
You pump it direct from the whale. Mm-hmm. So you have to put your hand in the whale and pump it out. I always like putting my hand in the whale and pumping it out. That's what you're going to be clipping later, isn't it?
Absolutely. Clip that one.
Why do I do this every fucking week?
Because you're a star, Steve. You're a star. You know, let's talk about Glory and Giza, though. Okay. Because there was some stars. There were some absolute stars. First and foremost, I gotta say, the sight of a boxing event happening with the pyramids in the background is unbelievable. Shout out to the people that put this thing together first and foremost. Am I right?
Yes, but I didn't like the backdrop with the glory of Giza, as I'll call it, superimposed on it. I just thought that makes the pyramids look like a nightclub. And half-price drinks, gentlemen, when you go into Tutankhamun's tomb.
Well, listen, if you've ever been down to any kind of strip joint in Mexico, yes, a lot of them do look like the titty twister from Dusk Till Dawn. I'm just saying. And that's kind of what this looked like, too. You know, it had that Dusk Till Dawn kind of nightclub kind of feel. I get what you're saying. Obviously, there's not 4 pyramids. There was, but outside of that, the fact that they put this thing together is baffling to me in the amount of time that they do. Why can't we get anything done anywhere else other than that part of the world getting something built in a timely manner?
It's an extraordinary situation. And Eddie Hearn said probably by 7 o'clock this evening, they'll still be banging some nails in because it's only just getting finished. But it was an extraordinary setting, but it had to be. And you also had to have a really good undercard because the main event, the one that I expected, was so shitty, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, let's get to the main event in a moment. because this card kind of started off in a certain way. There was a lot of upsets happening in this card. I mean, let's talk about Frank Sanchez first and foremost right now, because Frank came back from the grave, it seemed like, for his boxing career and was taking on Richard Torres Jr., who a lot of people thought was going to just be a walkover. The betting numbers even dictated that, this was a layup for Junior, and he was supposed to go in there and do the thing. And Frank said, nah, have a seat, Father Time. I got this one. What an outstanding turn of events for this one, right?
Amazing. And I mean, I've been one of the people saying over the past 6 months, really, people don't want to fight him because he's tough. It's not that he can't get, well, he can't get a fight, but it's not because he's shite. He can't get a fight, not because he's shite, but because he's experienced, wily, and incredibly tough. And he had his knee issue as well, but, that got resolved, and he stiffened Richard Torres Jr., stiffened him. I mean, that picture of Torres Jr. lying on the mat. Oh.
To no credit, like it had to, as I'm watching this fight, I first and foremost said, I don't understand the hype behind Richard Torres Jr. I didn't get it. His footwork looked horrendous in this thing, and it's no wonder that he got caught the way that he did. You can't throw those kinds of punches and then turn off to the side and not expect one to come right down. And you have no way of defending yourself every single time when this happens. Now, that's not taking anything away from Frank Sanchez or anything like that. But you're right. He's going to have a very, very tough time finding guys that are going to want to fight him now.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing in that ring. He's a tough guy. He's got he's known as a tough guy. And you're right, Richard Torres Jr. talked a very good game. Former Olympian, but also I thought, just as you did, what's he doing? What it didn't seem as though he was ready for this. Right. That's the worry, isn't it? It's a bit like Fabio Wardley against Dubois. I just thought, I don't think you're ready for this. That's always my worry. You go back to the drawing board and then you've got to build again. And with that, also that meme of him lying spark out on the mat, it's going to be very difficult for Richard Torres to come back, because the business of boxing will make that very difficult.
Oh, absolutely. That is going, you became somebody else's highlight reel, is essentially what happened. Let's talk about the women that came out to represent, because Mizuki Haruta might be one of my favorite fighters. I mean, certainly at 115 pounds, the buzzsaw, but my Solomon came out, represented, and took it to her. Just didn't have enough in the tank or enough skill. Haruta is a special kind of animal right now, and it goes to show the skill level of a lot of the boxers that are now. She lives in LA now or anything like that, but a lot of Japanese fighters that are coming out are a new school. There's a new era of boxing going on. What did you think of her performance?
Great. I mean, it's skill and power, and you're right. Something is happening in Japan, and because we don't get to see what happens. I mean, you don't. With other fighters in the US and the UK, we know what you're doing. We know who you're fighting with. We know what's happening. Japan still has that kind of closed door situation. So you just don't know what to expect, except that to expect, I won't give up. To expect I've got power, which my size belies. And you also know I've got some technique and tactics too. So, I mean, it's just great. I mean, the undercard for this event was, I mean, brilliant in the way that you've got a lot of things to talk about.
Right. Well, and you can also talk about Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall went from a number 10 position and launched himself straight up into a belt that somebody already had. What?
Yeah. I've been talking about Shakram Giasov for ages, about whether or not he should be fighting Rolly Romero. And the situation is that he said on occasions, well, if I don't know you, I don't owe you. You will know him, mate. And I've not talked him up as far as skill, but I've talked him up as far as the business. Now the business won't work for him because Jack Catterall took it to him supremely, had a game plan, is hardy, is tough, took it to him completely. I mean, I thought it was fairly close. I didn't think it was massively one-sided, but Catterall knew what he was doing in there. And occasions I thought that Giasov thought, what's this? Who's this that I'm in here with? This, I didn't expect to have to do this. Well, it's an eliminator, mate. So you will have to do it. So is Jack Catterall now silver champion? Because Chakram wasn't he? Or is that somebody else? No, that's the WBC, isn't it? Yeah. That's somebody else who's been passed over many times.
So he's the WBA welterweight champion now.
Yes.
Because Rolly has been elevated to super champion. Yay! What in the is that supposed to mean, Steve?
It's nonsense. It's about not doing business with Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero wants certain fights. Oh, yeah, well, Devin Haney and Manny Pacquiao and many others have ducked me. Yeah, well, you were ducking Shakram Giasov, weren't you, for quite a long time, mainly because of his of not having name value. Understand that, but they don't want to do business with him, so they've said we'll elevate you, so we don't have to do business with you. We can now say you need to fight the winner of that fight, which is Jack Catterall. Whether or not Rolly Romero will think Jack Catterall's a big enough name, I suspect he won't, and we'll have another if I don't know you, I don't owe you situation.
I think what you're going to end up seeing, because realistically, and everybody knows this, and even Rolly has come out and said this, that this is just another way for them to try to get sanctioning fees. They've taken one belt and split it up into two belts because, it's like, okay, one more chance. How about if we make you the super duper champion, but you still got to fight the guy? And everybody's like, no, you're not taking money. Okay, but we'll make you the super duper duper champion next. How about that, huh? We'll give you a gold star, maybe a little ring to go along with it. No, you're not getting my money. Do you not hear what I'm saying to you? I'm going to go over to Zuffa and I'm going to fight over there where they're not taking in the sanctioning fees. And I'm going to get a fight against Conor Benn. That's what's going to happen. That's what I think happens with Rolly Romero. And I think the excitement of having Rolly Romero on a microphone, being able to do those things in Zuffa boxing is way better for him. I think it's.
I agree. Yeah. And he doesn't care as much about belts because he's not really, it's not as if he's actively fighting for his belt. So it's not as if he's doing that. So belts won't matter as much to him. And as we know, it does come down to belts versus money. So, he can make a lot of money with Zuffa, surely. He is that kind of guy, as you say, who's good on the mic, says the kind of things that you think, did he really just say that? Mm-hmm. And he has just done this, I'm retiring, because that is a way to ease him into Zuffa, isn't it?
Well, it's a really nice way to make sure that your name is still at the top of everybody's heads, too. Now, speaking of which, 106, let's talk 168 pounds. Your boy finally got himself a belt. He's got himself a belt. What was the name of that guy that he beat for the belt?
Alen Begic. That name will be on your lips for months.
No, not as soon as I have a sip of water. That's how fast that name is going to be gone from these lips, ladies and gentlemen, because Sheeraz basically came out and treated him just as such. I mean, second round, and just took it to him, and then proceeded to be very, very respectful, but demanding in what he thinks that he deserves next. I mean, if you think that, he deserves to get in there with Canelo next, I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. I think that you're going to be fighting and defending that 168 belt against a few other people first.
Yes, I agree. He's not there yet. And it didn't help that his opponent shouldn't have been in the ring at that level in any way, shape or form. Now, you make a decision, don't you, I suppose, as a fighter, in that you say, do I carry him for a few rounds? I know I can beat him. Or do I just knock him out? And he chose the second. So really, either way, people like you and I, maybe not you, but certainly me, will be saying, didn't prove anything to us, mate. No. You've been gifted a belt, really. Mm-hmm. In a way, you are the coming man. And so consequently, you've sort of been gifted a belt. I mean, I don't know where Begic, a lot of people say, where's Begic come from? You've been gifted a belt, son. Mm-hmm. And, it didn't happen in the way that Fabio Wardley got his WBO belt, where he just picked it off the floor after it had been dropped by Usyk and said, there you go, son. But he had to get in the ring to do it, but he might as well not have bothered. So he needs to defend that belt probably twice before he steps in the ring with somebody like, not Canelo, because Canelo will be gone by then, because Christian and Billy will beat him. And then he will be waiting for Terence Crawford, who was cavorting with Joy Opataya in the sand, making sandmen and sand pies.
It's funny that you mentioned Jai Opataya, because nobody in the broadcast mentioned Jai Opataya sitting there front row for as long as he did in these things. Every single fighter and even a whole lot of celebrities, got mentioned, but Jai Opataya not mentioned in this entire thing. This just shows you the butthurtness that is going on with DAZN and who they're allowing to be mentioned on air. I guarantee you there's meetings that go on about this.
Of course, but you're absolutely right. Why would you mention Jai Opataya? What they want to do at the moment is create the narrative which David Benavidez has started in a way, which is, want to get that job done, can't get the job done because of Zuffa. Come over here, Dmitry Bivol. I'd rather have you than Jai Opataya. Easier to do a deal with you.
Well,
and that kind of narrative. Saw Jai Opataya interviewed, before the fights, saying how frustrated he was. I still want to unify. Well, you'll need a belt. You'll need a recognized belt to do that.
Will he though?
You don't have that.
He though? Because here's my question. We're going to get into this now, because now it's time to talk about the main event, where everybody thought that Rico Verhoeven was going to come in here and just get walked over. And I even, to the point to where as I'm watching this, there's part of me that would say that even Usyk was like, I'm going to carry this for a few rounds because I understand the importance of putting on a show. Because Rico Verhoeven came out looking like fucking Jerry Lewis, okay, boxing. And if anybody hasn't seen it, just type in Jerry Lewis boxing and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about right now. Am I right?
You're kind of right, I think.
No, I'm absolutely right.
I don't want to watch Jerry Lewis too often because my eyes will start to bleed. However, I'm not a fan. However, it's a bit like John Belushi and Jerry Lewis are the same for me. I like comedians who have control. Anyway, we can talk about that another day. Anyway, I thought it was difficult to watch him, Tidster. He's a big, broad dude. He's a piece of fucking meat in there. And he appeared to have no neck. So you've got the shoulders are up and the head is down. Tuck your chin, as you say. How are you going to hit that? I can't even find it. It's down by your belly button. I just thought it was difficult. Adrian Broner's side-on, crab-like stance that people said, can't work with that. I felt kind of the same way with him. It was difficult to watch. But you know what? There are some people who say, and I'd like your view on this, he got the job done.
Well, he didn't, because he got stopped. That's like saying, that's literally the equivalent of saying, what if? Well, you say this up to the entire time of the fight. Everything leading up to the fight is what if? Well, what if this happens? Well, what if this happens? And then after the fight, you can't say, well, what if this would have happened? Because you had your fucking chance to make that happen and it didn't happen. This is what I try to say to people all the time. Like, well, what if this happened? Well, what if? What if? What if? Well, I'll tell you what if. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. That's what if. Okay? There's no way in hell anybody can say, and everybody, let me get your opinion on this first, Steve, before I give mine. What did you think of the stoppage of this fight?
I've done a podcast that is, well, first of all, let me say that Mark Lyson shouldn't have any brickbats thrown at him. I'm not suggesting anything dodgy, windy pops, took place, but I think there's a thing called the few factor, which is WBC titles on the line. We're not expecting that Rico Verhoeven is going to even turn up. Oh, he fucking turned up. We're not expecting he's going to be any good. Oh, he's actually doing all right. We're expecting that Usyk will have great footwork. Oh, no, that didn't happen. He's going to put him down at some point, isn't he? Yes, he is. And he's jumped on him. That's the end of it. That's enough. Phew, it worked out the way we thought it would. And that's the way that everybody thought it would work out. I think the stoppage was incredibly premature. I thought some people are saying it was after the bell. I watched it again and I wasn't sure. But some people are saying this. And I thought that Verhoeven didn't ship that much punishment. I thought he could. It was at the end of the round. So I thought he could have had that time and come out again. The scorecards show us that it was even at that time, a majority draw. So, which would have caused a lot of trouble, but a squeaking victory by Usyk would have been even worse. So it's few, isn't it? He's knocked him out and the old order prevails.
I think that this causes more problems than a draw. And I think that the referee should be praised, in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. Because you know as well as I do my stance on the guard of sanctioning bodies and the way that they mess with the boxers all the time. Until one boxer came along and said, nah, that doesn't work for me, brother. And that guy's name is Oleksandr Usyk. And he's done this time and time again to the sanctioning bodies. Well, now they finally get him to fight. And he's like, okay, I'm going to fight a kickboxer. Okay, sure. Whatever you say, Mr. Usyk, please go fight. We need these belts to be taken care of here. And he goes out there and he kind of carries this thing and throws some lazy stuff. And a referee comes out there and throws a wrench into the whole thing with a controversial finish. A controversial finish that allows Rico Verhoeven to jump the line again and put a logjam in that entire division, not just for one belt, for all of those different belts. And for that reason and that reason alone, I say one-handed clap, because I had surgery, one-handed clap to the referee for screwing over these commissioning and sanctioning bodies yet again. Kudos to you, sir.
Yes, I mean, you can see it that way. And what Turkey Al-Sheikh did afterwards, and he was overexcited because he loves his boxing, and he was doorstepped. But he said, okay, next fight, Ajit Kabayel, and then Rico Verhoeven again. We'll have another one. So he said, of course, Usyk will decide. No, he won't. The fucking sanctioning bodies will decide, mate. So actually, they have already been saying it's a mess. This Usyk retirement, 3 fights, is a mess. He wanted Verhoeven to start with, and he got that. Now it could be Ajit Kabayel, and apparently that's what they want. But what about the WBA, and what about the IBF? He's carrying those belts as well. The IBF have said, you can defend our belt, but if you win it, then in 180 days, or 180 days after the WBA, you'll be fighting. Well, Frank Sanchez, he doesn't want any of that.
Well,
so
this
it's
is
a
what I'm
mess for
saying.
Usyk.
If we're going on the let's give all the Rockies in the world a chance tour, which is kind of the way that they put this towards him with fighting Rico Verhoeven. Oh, there's not a chance in hell. The only one person in that entire house gave Rico Verhoeven a chance, and that was Alistair Overeem on the broadcast thing. Everybody else was like, he's got no chance whatsoever. And then when it's happening, everybody's like, what's going on here? This isn't what boxing is supposed to be. Are we actually seeing what's going on here right now? So if we're talking that Rocky tour for Usyk, then absolutely Frank Sanchez is next. And then you go to the biggest make-a-wish case in all of boxing, Tyson Fury being the third one. That's what you do. That's what you do. You go out and you give the little sick child his last wish right before he's done at the hospital. That's what make-a-wish is supposed to be, isn't it?
It is. But
and
what about Rico?
You keep that referee the entire time. You keep that referee and you make him your Danny Davis of this entire farewell tour. That's what I think
Mark,
we do.
Mark Lyson, who is a time-served British referee, is now going to be Danny Davis. Is that what you're saying? Who's Corporal Kirshner? Who's Jesse Ventura? I don't.
Or maybe you just bring in Jesse. They can be the judges. Listen, I don't know where you even go with this one, but I think what do you do with Rico Verhoeven at this point? I mean,
Well,
you could give him a number of fights. There's a number of guys out there, but I got to be honest with you. I don't think he does as well as people think that he's going to do. I think that a lot of that, and I'm going to say this, a lot of that was Usyk not being Usyk. It wasn't that Verhoeven was out there, because Verhoeven looked like a guy who was out there pretending to be a boxer. Like he's throwing this stuff like, I'm going to do a little, I do the shuffle. The shuffle means I'm a boxer and I'm going to throw some jab. It was literally the Jerry Lewis thing all over again. It was absolutely kind of silly to the point. And I'm not taking anything away from Rico Verhoeven, because as a kickboxer, unbelievable. But you watch his style and the way that he stands and the way that he fights as a kickboxer, nothing like what he was doing as a boxer. It was like two guys out there doing a weird kind of sparring session to me at some points in this fight, right?
That's a really interesting point, actually, because now you mention it, that kind of odd movement is something we're not used to seeing in boxing. And you could be right that it's just that. I mean, I was concentrating on Usyk quite a lot and thinking, footwork's not there. He's not. But he might be thinking, don't need to turn this on. This is a glorified exhibition fight. But what they do, I mean, and in a way, he doesn't need to worry about the WBC belt because he's already had these belts. So, I've said it many times. Would he care if he dropped one in that respect? Would he care? Because Turkey Al-Sheik's going to go, come over here. I want to work with you, which he clearly does. And, yeah, you're right. It looked like it's a great take. It looked like a glorified exhibition match, but with something at stake, which is, I suppose, I mean, I've said Rico Verhoeven has legitimized that crossover boxing now, because you've got something at stake, and because he had a good showing, or was allowed to have a good showing, to your point, which is interesting. Yeah, you're right. He didn't do anything that I thought, fuck, you're a great boxer.
No.
I never knew you had these skills. And the kind of big meatiness of him and the way he was moving, you're probably right. You've done it again. Tinster's done it again.
If you watched any of his glory stuff or any of his kickboxing stuff for all of those years, and you talked about it at the beginning of the boxing match, you take a look at his legs. 90% of his fights were from setting up those kicks, and he throws those low leg kicks, and he's always in there, and that takes a guy's steam out. You don't have that ability, so you don't get to stand up as tall and long as he does in kickboxing, where he can use his legs. He's got to be able to stand up, and you don't want to do that against a guy named Usyk, because somebody else already did that by the last name of Fury. And look how it worked out for him twice. So it was a very smart game plan to come in and look all herky-jerky and kind of weird and very untrained. Well, I spent the last 9 months training, blah, blah, blah. No, you spent a lot of time training your hands. You spent a lot of time training boxing, but not this kind of boxing, and certainly not at this level. So what you do with Rico Verhoeven up to this point is wide open. But the problem I think that you have is that I think that if you were to put him in there with a guy like Frank Sanchez would knock him the fuck out. Absolutely. You put him in there with a guy like, Moses Itama, knock him the fuck out. Put him in there with Tara Moana, even at that level, I think that those kind of boxers spark him every time. And that's not a knock on Rico Verhoeven. I think he's
and I agree. And you've got to be cognizant also of your WBC, IBF, WBA champion, because if they can knock him out, then Usyk did knock him down, but probably wouldn't knock him out in that kind of spark out way. I say the fight for Rico Verhoeven, stay with me on this, Shannon Briggs, bring him out, Shannon Briggs. That's the fight. That's the fight for Rico Verhoeven next. Shannon.
No, the fight for him next. The fight for him next was already set up during the broadcast because it's the one fight that never happened during their kickboxing careers, but it could happen now as a boxing career. It's Rico Verhoeven, Alistair Overeem. There's the fight that you do. There's the fight that you do for Rico next. Or you just give him Francis Ngannou. You do Rico Verhoeven, Francis Ngannou in a boxing match. There's two legitimate sets of hands that neither one of them know what they're doing, and you're going to have a good fight. There's a fight Rico Verhoeven can win. 100.
Yeah, swinging for the fences. That would be great. That, I mean, you know, that I can see that on an undercard of a Turkey Al Sheikh fight later in the year, can't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of things that I can see like this.
Come to the children. Wu-Tang is for the children. We teach the children.
I don't know.
You didn't even prepare for it. You just, I saw your hand fucking going down there. I thought, what are you doing now? I thought, are you knocking one out like you always do on this show? But no, it was that.
You know what they say, you know, knock 3 times on the pipes.
They do. They do. Thank you for that, Tidster. That was very kind of you.
Steve, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait to do this again. You know, it baffles me. It baffles me sometimes the ignorance that boxing, the business of boxing, can put onto fans. But we've seen it again. And this is my point. This is why Zuffa is looking better and better for these guys every single day. Right?
I understand your view on this, but Zuffa haven't had to do the meat of the work yet, and that's to come, and I can't wait.
Well, me neither. Me neither. So until next time, this is the Bees of Boxing. He's Steve Swift. I am Chris Tidwell, otherwise known as Notorious TID. And one thing you got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, when you're out there and the world is taking you by the short and curlies, tuck your chin.